34-14 is not the same everywhere. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by. Of course, best discussion, debate, and analysis. Let's crank it up on Brian Kelly, dismissed at LSU. Did it happen suddenly? To a certain extent, yeah, because many of us had tried to judge, okay, how much is it going to take in regards to the comparative mediocrity that we see at LSU versus what Brian Kelly was paid to do. Now, for most of LSU's history, now we hold them in high regard as an elite program. Many people do, but historically 34-14 would be just fine at LSU. People would be ecstatic at LSU from the beginning of time until Nick Saban with going 34-14. So let's understand that 34-14 at LSU, this is not a traditional power forever at the elite status, but Nick Saban changed the rules at LSU, won a national championship, and the expectations at LSU have since changed. And we've had 3 consecutive head coaches at LSU win national championships, and Brian Kelly will not be one of them. First season 2022, of course, and actually exceeded expectations to a certain extent, winning the SEC Western Division before getting pummeled by Georgia in the championship game. But ever since then, they've certainly not met the expectations of seriously competing for an SEC championship or a college football playoff appearance. All right, I will hit the lines here in just a second, but we do want to run down the article to see if there's any pain points that we want to hit on here. I just tonight watched LSU Texas A&M. And LSU led this game 18-14 at halftime. They got outscored 35. They gave up 35 points in the second half, scored 6, and were completely drubbed. Now, when I say I watched the game, I watched the competitive aspects of the game. I did not watch it past the rest of the complete debacle in Death Valley, and I can imagine the scene that was witnessed there. Okay. LSU fired Brian Kelly. Athletic Director Scott Woodward announced on Sunday night, minutes after the players were informed of the decision. Talks regarding the terms of the departure are continuing. $54 million is the buyout. Sound familiar, Penn State fans? $54 million, the buyout. Kelly left the office early Sunday afternoon, did not return. Sources told ESPN the Tigers are on a bye week, so attendance of some staff was optional. Quote, we had high hopes that he would lead us to multiple SEC and national championships during this time in Baton Rouge. Woodward said in an announcement after LSU's 49-25 loss to Texas A&M. Ultimately, the success at the level that LSU demands simply did not materialize, and I made the decision to make a change after last night's game. That was a good testing ground for LSU last night. At home, knowing that Texas A&M was that good, that accomplished, and we see it all the time when an undefeated conference foe takes on a team of like talent. So it's not like this would have been some monumental upset, according to Vegas, 2.5 points. They're playing at home. They're not playing as well as Texas A&M, but to many of our discussions in recent weeks, they lost to Vandy by a touchdown, 7-1 team. They lost by less than a touchdown to Ole Miss, one of the top 5 to 10 teams in the nation. So this team has not met expectations, but still they have competed with everyone on the schedule. And then it just seemed to implode last night. And in these spots, LSU has historically, and a number of college football teams have historically risen to the occasion of taking down a top 5 undefeated team when they have like talent. And they did not come anywhere close. Quote, I am grateful for the ongoing consultations and support of the LSU Board of Supervisors and interim president Matt Lee on this decision. We wish Coach Kelly and his family the very best in their future endeavors. We will continue to negotiate a separation and we'll work toward a path that is better for both parties. With Kelly joining the mix of coaches that are now unemployed, it'd be interesting to have some type of maybe we should produce a video guessing where these guys are going to land. James Franklin, Brian Kelly, etc. Frank Wilson, LSU's associate head coach and running back coach, will take over the team as interim head coach. Tigers next play number 4, Alabama. Kelly 64, 34 and 14 at LSU, winning just under 71% of his games, but the Tigers have lost 3 of the past 4, all in the SEC, and Saturday's loss to the Aggies was one of which the road team scored 35 straight points to open the second half. Chance of fire, Chelly reverberated inside Tiger Stadium. As a proud alum and the current caretaker of our athletics program, I will not compromise in our pursuit of excellence, and we will not lower our standards. I continue to believe that LSU is the best football program in America, Woodward said, and that our head coach position is among the best considering our investment, our ability to attract and retain talent. Best program in America. You're not the best program in America. Okay. Kelly won an SEC. You've never been the best program in America. Kelly won an SEC West Division title in his first year with the Tigers and coached Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Jaden Daniels. We don't have to go through the history again. Went to the championship game the first year and 10-3, 9-4. What would they have finished this year? Who knows? They could have went 10-3, could have went 7-6. Who knows? But 5-3 right now. They did pour a ton of money into this team, considering significant portal upgrades. We saw one of the best safeties in the nation leave Houston, go to LSU. AJ Halsey made a big interception in the game against Texas A&M when it was still competitive. Sunday began with the LSU staff bracing for staff changes. They entered the week at number 82 in scoring offense, number 96 in total offense, and number 122 in passing offense. So the offense, has been a wreck the entire year despite all that talent. Although we did have some warnings on here at the Voice of College Football about the offensive line not being as good as it needed to be. People were enamored with Nussmeier at quarterback and the wide receiver play. And what's really been disappointing the last few weeks is that a defense that was ranked top 5, top 10 in the nation with all that talent has really let down. So Kelly signed a 10-year deal originally. $95 million in salary, 90% of which is guaranteed. National search for a coach, as expected. All right, let's hit the lines. The real MVP stopping by first.
Hey, Mark, how you doing this evening?
I am doing well, and here we are. Brian Kelly no longer employed at LSU.
Yeah, Mark, this coaching carousel is only heating up. This is going to be an all-time great carousel changing of moves. I mean, just think of the names that have been fired and those who haven't been fired that could potentially get fired. Brent Venables, Mike Norvell, Luke Fickell. All 3 of those coaches are probably gone. And then you've got some on the tertiary, on the outside chance, like Lincoln Riley, who's probably safe but could get fired if things go truly south. I think this season's like 2021, where we're going to see big names change. And like, as a Kentucky fan, as an Arkansas level program who's looking for a coach, I'm jumping for joy right now because we might get a tier B or a tier A coach that's failed at 1 or 2 programs in a row that needs proven ground and to prove themselves at a smaller school. So I'm feeling good today, man.
Well, as a Kentucky fan, who would be a reasonable land for you that you would be happy with?
John Summerall is somebody I want, but if we can get bigger and better coaches from there that are more proven, like a Luke Fickell or somebody like that, somebody who just needs to reset, then I'll be happy to take them. Because we're kind of in that we're still in the SEC, but we're kind of a Midwestern type program because how far we are away from the rest of the South. So if one of the, Brian Kelly's another one that comes, for example, that wants to reset themselves and go back to their roots at a school that is willing to go head over heels for them, I'll gladly take them.
So I think we could agree probably on a pecking order in regards to accomplishments and where these guys stand in their careers. So is there anybody that would be near the top of the list? You mentioned Luke Fickell and Brian Kelly, near the top of the list that other people based on name recognition would think would be great for the Kentucky program that you don't want? Or is there anyone down under the radar that you would really like that maybe people wouldn't think was a great hire based on name recognition?
I've heard the UTSA coach, his name been
Yeah.
thrown there for Kentucky. I
Trailer.
don't want him.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want him. I think he's too unproven at UTSA for one-on-one. But when you're the worst of the worst, Mark, you'll just take anybody that's had some proven success. I mean, honestly.
It would be fun to go through an exercise of group of 5 coaches who have been elevated to the Power 5 and the success ratio there, like the Mike Norvells of the world.
Right. I think these coaches that go from G5 to P4 struggle more than what's expected, especially with the Luke Fickle at Cincinnati. But getting back to Brian Kelly, did the family comment kind of just summarize his entire time at LSU? Got off to a odd start, never really fit in with the LSU fan base. It felt like he always felt like an outsider, and he just never really recovered.
You could have asked me at the time that that move was made, and of course, that blindsided a lot of people, including myself, of top coaches around the country who would have been a good fit at LSU, and I would have been here for hours and would have exhausted the list before I would have named Brian Kelly. When that was made, I just was, it just, yeah, it did not feel like this was going to be a good fit for a very culture driven Southern and a very unique Southern, they very much tie to their Cajun roots, the Bayou. Just, he did not seem like he would be the kind of swashbuckling kind of coach that they would want there at LSU. And it just seemed, and then he amplified, of course, that thought that many of us had when he first appeared. And the worst thing you can do is try to fit in. Just be yourself. Hey, LSU invested all this money in me. I got this job for a reason. I don't have to play a part now. They're going to respect me more if I'm just myself, even if it seems a bit awkward and it doesn't fit. Well, if I start to win, it will fit. Yeah, it just
What you say, all that, it reminds me so much of Kirk Signetti. That's the Kirk Signetti strategy right there. What you just described. It doesn't feel like it should work. He's his own character. He's above the program in many ways. He talked about how he was a winner, even though he went to the one of the worst, if not the worst, Power Four program in all of college football. But he's turned around doing it his own way and his own vision.
Yes, be yourself. Be yourself. And Brian Kelly, it doesn't appear as though he played a part anywhere else. But of course, that was out of his comfort zone. He couldn't turn down the dollars, of course. And yeah, it didn't work. It did not work. And Brian Kelly's got a very comparative record to Les Miles at the point that he was fired in his last, 45 to 50 games, where you're winning, but you're not winning enough. You're not winning the right games, and you're just not competitive at the top, and you are becoming irrelevant as just another mid-tier Tennessee team. I say Tennessee that was a Freudian slip, as a mid-tier SEC team. And that's not what these guys are being paid for. Brian Kelly's being paid top dollar.
So, Mark, you're Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Do you go to LSU, Florida, or do you stay at Ole Miss?
Without knowing what those conversations are going to be like, because I do think that people matter, meaning meeting athletic directors and administrators and getting a feel for who you truly can trust and believe are competent, not just competent. I would think all those people are competent, but who's exceptional. So take that out of the equation. I go to LSU. I have a real tough time leaving Ole Miss for Florida, but I go to LSU.
Okay, and why would you go to LSU over Ole Miss?
I just believe that it's been proven down through the years that, and again, I'll be the first one to admit that I've challenged people with the process of relating what's happened in the past versus where we are with NIL and the new era. but I think it's pretty obvious that LSU will do anything to win. And I think that they're in the running for any player anywhere. Ole Miss hasn't proven that under Lane Kiffin, that he's been able to. And if he can't raise them to the level where they're in the running for any transfer portal player, but any high school football recruit, they've not recruited at that level. And of course, LSU always has post Saban. So I do think that there is a proven advantage there.
Okay, okay. So, is there any coaches that are currently retired that you think would be drawn out of retirement or have been recently fired that would come back into the fold because of all the big time jobs that are opening up?
So Nick Saban made some interesting comments that I would think that you're aware of this offseason about the biggest mistake he ever made in his coaching career was leaving LSU. And so I believe that that's worthy of a phone call, if not just a concerted effort to bring him in.
Yeah, I saw a recent comment where his agent was taking numbers, and Nick Saban talked about how he has to leave the room because his wife overhears the amount of money, and she gets excited about the large amount of sum.
Yeah, I
So,
think you start there. And I thought that was a fascinating admittance of Nick Saban to say, even though his legend it started at LSU, but it was confirmed a zillion times at Alabama, to say, I should have stayed at LSU. That's where I should have stayed. I liked it there, and we had something great going. I should have stayed there. Biggest mistake. And it all turned out, obviously, from a football standpoint. So it's not like he went to the NFL and kicked around 3 teams and won 30% of his games, and we never heard from him again. And we thought, oh, this guy could have been one of the greatest college coaches ever, but who knows what would have happened. No, it all worked out for him. And he still says, I should have stayed at LSU. That's your phone call to
okay.
start.
Yeah, obviously, if you can get Nick Saban, that's not a home run. That's a forfeit. Everybody else would forfeit, basically, that plays Nick Saban, like, right away. But, Mark, final thing I'll ask you about is because of the depth of the SEC, being the best conference in America
Yes.
by a wide margin, as usual, there's going to be some schools that are perceived as elite, like Oklahoma, LSU, and then some mid-tier teams like Tennessee that have a worse record than their actual power rating or truly they are on the field.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think the adjustment will ever be made for fans to accept this reality that they could go 7-5, 8-4, even 6-6, and still be power rating wise one of the 30 or 35 best teams?
Well, for as much as I get on the fans and our fine callers here and find people in the chat and try to challenge them and correct them all the time, because that's just kind of the role that I play. And most of them are very good sports about it. Like I was really picking on Dependent Fanatic the other night of making some rather off factual comments. I will give them a break in this regard. I've been a baseball fan. I'm no longer a Major League Baseball fan, but I was a huge one for 40 years, like as big as you will find anywhere on the planet. And my son is still one in a way that I won't explain. Like he's not keeping up with it, but he's always sending me almost every day different like stat lines and historical facts in baseball. And I'm still a guy that will be tied to a pitcher's record. I still throw it out there as a legitimate statistic. Oh, this pitcher's 20-6. This guy's only 14-12. That means something. Whereas, the metrics have passed that by a long time ago, and understandably so, for obvious reasons, if you know anything about baseball. The same thing here, that, yes, there is so much more to evaluating a team than just the record. And it's even more blatant and obvious to us than it would be in the example I just gave. I can't believe how many people just in the last week have sent comments into the channel or to my Twitter about, how obvious it is that so-and-so should be ranked ahead of so-and-so. when the best wins and the losses aren't even comparable. So yes, there will always be a large percentage of people out there that can't get over 6-2's always better than 5-3.
Okay. I mean, if that's the way people are, there's going to be a lot of coaching churn in the future. A lot of it in the SEC and the Big 12 because somebody's got to lose these games, Mark. Somebody has to lose the games on the field. And I think maybe for the hardcore fans that knows what's going on, they'll understand it. But Mark, final thing I'll say is I'm surprised LSU made the move now because LSU's still mathematically in the playoff hunt. They win the rest of their games. I know it's unlikely they would have beaten Bama, but are you surprised that wasn't factored in, that they're not even really eliminated from any of their goals this year, and he still got fired?
Yeah, I would have thought since the season could have been salvaged at Bama, you would think, okay, I do know, and we've seen it many times, that the bye week has been a key opportunity for these schools to say, okay, we can kind of reset our team, get rid of this guy, give the interim some time to at least work with the team, and especially if they've got something to play for, like this LSU team still actually does. But yeah, you would think that they could have went to Bama and that could have been the final decision. Like, okay, we are truly out of it if we lose to Bama. But if Brian Kelly somehow takes us to Bama and we win in Tuscaloosa, well, we still have a season. So yeah, I got to think that the manner in which they lost that game had something to do with it as well, that they just got steamrolled and laid down in the second half.
Okay, Mark, it's been good talking to you. I guess I'll talk to you next week when Luke Fickle, Hugh Freeze, Mike Norvell, or someone else gets fired.
For sure. All right, DeReal. Thanks, man. Yeah, it is something else here. This is going to be unprecedented. I when I say unprecedented, I do believe that. I've not gone through every year to figure out, okay, if there ever been this level of uh, premium jobs open in an off season. But here we are, and we're halfway through the season. We just passed the midway point. 7 out of 12 games. Got Michigan Man stopping by. Michigan Man, what's going on?
Hey, call me crazy, but did DeReal just say that LSU still had all their goals in front of them?
Yeah, he meant if they win the rest of their games, they're 9-3. And they
Which
could
goal?
make the college football playoff.
Mark, they're not making the college football playoff at 9-3.
They could make the college football playoff at 9-3. They could.
You what, like a 1% chance, maybe?
I think it's higher than that. I'm not gonna. I obviously don't have the wherewithal and the graphics team to point all this out right this second and draw up all sorts of configurations. But it's not that far fetched to draw up an LSU season at 9-3 in which they could make the playoffs.
What are their three? So it was Texas A&M, Clemson. What was the other one?
They beat Clemson. They lost to Ole Miss,
Or not Clemson? My
and
bad.
they lost to Ole Miss and Vandy. They have lost to two top 10 teams by one score, and then they got drubbed by Texas A&M. So that's not going to look real good, sure. But if Texas A&M finishes this season, let's not go crazy and say they're 13-0 SEC champions. They could be 12-1 SEC champions or 11-2 SEC championship game losers. So unless they fall off the rails, Texas A&M, that's not a good loss regardless. Even if they finish the number one team in the country, you don't lose at home by 25 points. But
They would need a lot to go wrong to get into the playoff at
sure,
9-3.
but it's not as crazy as you would think it to be. I actually, my playoff scenario to start this season actually had LSU at 9-3 going to the playoffs. But one of the big reasons why I had them going to the playoffs is that they beat Texas A&M at home, and they had a tiebreaker over a lot of teams in terms of strength of schedule or head to head.
Yeah, I mean, because you got 5 guaranteed spots, right? You got the 4 conference Power 4 champs, and then you have the group of 5, right? That's
Yeah.
5 guaranteed spots, and then
Yes.
And then
Yes.
there's yeah. I don't know. We can move on from that. To me that'd be like you would need a lot to go wrong about things for them to get in that situation. Um yeah. So anyways, did you see all the clips of of him yelling at coaches at the game?
No, but I can imagine because one of his sore spots has been blaming other people for what's gone wrong.
It's really ironic because there's a clip of him yelling at the special teams coach, and if you read his lips, he says you're gonna get fired to the special teams coach, and then today he gets fired.
Yeah, that's apropos. You just don't
And I
say
bet
things
you that
like,
special teams coach is like, you shouldn't have been talking. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you probably shouldn't have been talking that ish, my guy. I don't
is
know
it
how you can like. How can you like him as a boss? I just don't know how you. How can you work for that guy?
so? On one hand, I've seen all sorts of memes and hateful type rhetoric on social media. On one hand, part of me wants to defend the guy to some extent, but there's nothing to defend. Like either what I know about Brian Kelly is just kind of neutral, like, okay, I know what I don't know. Like, I don't know how he treats his wife or his kids or that sort of thing, or how I don't even know how he treats his players. Like, I've never heard any players bash him that I can remember, but I've also not heard any players just sing his praises. Like, this is the best human being I've ever associated myself with. On the other hand, I know the negative, he just does not come across as a likable person. Now,
I
I
mean,
think
he's
I think we can get
always
a little
blaming people.
yeah, and he blames he
He
maybe
blames
that gets
players in
overblown
lawsuits. It's
too. Yeah,
crazy.
he throws the players under the bus, he throws the other coaches under the bus, but I do think that we have to remember as humans, what we hear is like 90% emotional and 10% what the person actually said. I have heard him blame himself, but since he comes across as a guy who doesn't take the blame or doesn't hold himself accountable, then that's he's dug himself a PR hole beyond
Mark, this is
belief.
why I'll tell you why he's so unlikable. It's not just that he throws people under the bus. It's when he wins, he's arrogant. So you're arrogant when you win, and then when you lose, you throw everybody under the bus. That's why he's so unlikable. It's a double edged sword. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Uh, yeah, well, let's face it. When you lose and you're at a school where you can't lose, you really can't win with what you say. Especially not in your fourth season. You can get away with it your first season and talk about we're building something here. We have to turn over the roster. Like he talked all that the first season, and actually should be given a lot of credit and was at the time for taking a really they for an LSU program, their roster was horrible. They were in a really bad place. They had hardly any players show up for their previous bowl game, all of that, and he won the Western Division his first year. So he was off to a good start on the surface. But you can get away with that for the first year. You can talk about close losses and we're getting there and all that, but you just can't do it now. He has to. He even said in the offseason, it's time to pull through. It's time to win these big games. He didn't do it.
Yeah, but I've watched him this year too. Like I think there was I forget which game was it. The first game they lost, maybe where he threw the quarterback under the bus. I think it was the first game where he's pretty much throwing his quarterback under the bus. And then when he beats Clemson, right? He beats Clemson at the beginning of the year. He's talking mad-ish at the press conference. He's talking mad-ish. And then the second they lose, he's throwing his quarterback under the bus. It's extremely unlikely.
Yeah, he's I think he's a disciplined organizer. Like he's a good football guy to run an organization. He understands, he's smart, he knows the nuts and bolts, but he's not a disciplined person emotionally when it comes to dealing with the media. So when he can take advantage of a win to shove it in people's faces to say, "Hey, you said all this about me. Well, see, we did get it done." He Yeah, he puts that on himself as I'm the guy that got it done. And then when it doesn't turn out, he typically, although I will say, to be fair to the guy, and I do at times play devil's advocate because I think public perception is usually swung way too far in one direction or the other because there's something called groupthink out there. I have heard Brian Kelly many times say I didn't coach well enough. Uh, I again, if you look at the way he talked during SEC media days and at other times during this offseason, he basically said, we've gotten to the points, fourth year, we got to get it done. We've done some
That
good
should
things.
always be the
We're good enough.
response, though, to the media.
There you go.
That should always be the response
Yeah.
to the media. You handle the player stuff behind closed doors. That's how it should be handled.
Yeah.
And also, do you think his accent's going to be gone though?
Well, his accent was gone the second day. It just showed up once that I know of. So
No, I'm just trolling, man. But yeah, if I was him, man, I wouldn't. Well, you're gonna get paid so much money. I think he's in his 60s, right? I don't even see the point of him. He's probably. If I was him, I'd be tired, man. I'd be like, you know what? Let me just kick back and just.
he's got the same buyout as James Franklin. He's just older.
Yeah, James Franklin wants to coach, though. He made that clear at game day. And here, you know what's interesting is I think the team that's actually going to suffer the most from all this coaching carousel is Penn State. Like, if you were to rank the opening jobs, where would you rank Penn State? Because within these jobs, I think LSU is a better job. Do you think Florida's a better job than Penn State?
I think that if you believe in recruiting and that being the lifeblood, and that I don't think geography means as much as it used to, but it's still important. So yeah, it's easier to recruit players to Florida and LSU than it is to Penn State.
And look,
and
go ahead.
the high end of the Big Ten, if it's going to hold the way it is, and I'm not talking specifically about Indiana being an elite, but if you're talking about whether the elite's going to be Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, or some combination of that at the level that they're playing and the way they've shown up since NIL, then cracking through to win the Big Ten or be an elite that goes to the playoffs consistently from the Big Ten might be tougher than the SEC, even if the SEC's a better conference top to bottom, which it is right this second. But top to bottom doesn't matter. It matters about being one of the four best so you can get into the playoff, and that might be tougher in the Big Ten than it is in the SEC.
And I didn't even mention this, Mark. I don't remember DeReal mentioned this. They talking about Sark leaving Texas for the NFL right now.
Yeah.
So this is gonna get this is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You could literally be a scenario in this offseason. Texas has an open head coach job. Penn State has an open head coach job. Florida has an open head coach job. LSU has an open head coach job. Auburn has an open head coach job. That's a crazy statement. Who said that?
Bilal telling us LSU is not a good job.
They have 3 national titles in the last 25 years.
Might believe that there's like 2 good jobs in America. So I don't know.
That's a crazy statement. Florida State's going to have an open job. These aren't just small programs, Marty. These are cream of the crap I'm talking here.
Oh, yeah. This is unprecedented. I've seen nothing like it. Even if nothing else opens up, I don't know that there's been anything like it.
I can guarantee you that those jobs are opening up. At least Auburn, Florida State. I mentioned one that I'm forgetting right now, but at least Auburn, Florida State are opening up for sure. I think Hugh Freeze. There's no way he's staying there. And if they keep Mike Norvell, I don't know what they're thinking.
And see, if I'm Wisconsin, I'm firing Fickell.
Oh yeah, Wisconsin too. I didn't even mention that one.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I would have thought in a different situation that you would maybe pull back and think, do we give Hugh Freeze another year thinking we're like 6th in line for a head coach when Auburn actually hasn't played that poorly? They've gotten ripped off more than any team in America this year. But anyway, Hugh Freeze will probably get fired, but maybe Auburn hesitates thinking, can we get one of the best coaches in the market since all these jobs are open? I think Wisconsin's just like in a different place. They're not competing with Florida and LSU for head coaches. So
No, they're
they're
not.
going to get like a grinder, a guy. They're either going to go old school and get somebody who's like proven and really good, but not one of the elites. Whether they go to like Kansas State and Chris Kleiman, I'm not saying that he's leaving Kansas State, but that kind of guy, or they're going to take a top G5. I just don't think Wisconsin's in the running. So I don't think any of this free for all should affect their decision.
I would like to address one comment in the comments. There's the same guy that said LSU's not a good job. He's saying, well, you have to win a championship every 2 years or you get fired. The best jobs have what's called pressure, my guy. If you're at a great, if you're the CEO of Apple or something, the pressure is going to be there. And on top of that, if you don't have a championship in 2 years and you get fired, guess what? You're getting paid $50 million. I don't know what to tell you. That's a great job. What are we talking about?
Bilal's asking, how many head coaches has LSU had in the last 30 years? I don't know what his point is. They haven't had many. That means it's a good job. They haven't had many. They've had Brian Kelly and Ed Ogeron and Les Miles, Nick Saban, and Jerry DiNardo. Those are their coaches in the last 30 years. That's not that many for a college football program. And they've fired coaches. Yeah, like Tim.
Well, I'll ask you this, Mark. How many programs? Let's say all the programs are open right now. How many programs would you put ahead of LSU as a better job? Not many.
I would put none.
You put none? Not even Ohio State or Alabama?
That's what you said about the open jobs.
No, I said if all the jobs are open, like let's say every program fired their coach, there's not many programs you put ahead of LSU. There is a couple, but there's not a lot.
Sure.
I would probably say Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, maybe. Would you put? I don't even know if I put. Would you put Georgia? I don't know. LSU might be a very. That's a tough one right there.
Yeah,
between LSU and Georgia.
You have to separate the program from, like, Clemson is not nearly as good a program as what Dabo Swinney has made it. Like, if he leaves,
100%.
It's not. You can't expect, okay, Clemson's going to win national championships going forward. Yeah, it's
that'd be a perfect example. Is I'm not saying that Indiana's Clemson, but if Chris Signetti left Indiana, they're not competing.
No,
and that's just three different head coaches would say. Now, I will like to mention this. I think a huge mistake Brian Kelly made when he got there. He fired their 20-year strength and conditioning coach. He went to Texas A&M. What's his name?
Yeah.
Skipping my mind. The current Texas A&M strength and conditioning coach was the LSU, I think, strength and conditioning coach. I'm pretty sure going all the way back to, was it maybe Nick Saban when he got there?
He brought in his guy, right? His Notre Dame guy.
And people are making the argument, because you see Texas A&M right now, people are making an argument, a big part of the culture, and this is any program, but a big part of your culture is your strength and conditioning coach. You can't let go. You can't fire a guy, in my opinion, that was a part of, I think, 3 national titles, and being a renowned strength and conditioning coach. He leaves and goes to Texas A&M, and they completely flipped.
If I take over any company, let alone a head coaching job, I keep everybody on staff and interview them at least and get to know them before I fire them. Like, I don't just clean house just for the sake of cleaning house and bringing in my buddies. I want to know, this guy's at LSU, so he must be pretty good at what he does. Now, I may not keep him once I review his work and talk to him, but I don't want to just blindly fire people. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, especially that guy. I think he even took a shot at Brian Kelly after the game. But yeah, decisions like that is what cost you. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here, man. Brian Kelly, I do not feel bad for you. You're just not a likable dude, man. And look, to me, this is karma. To me, this just feels like karma for Brian Kelly. You left Notre Dame high and dry. You didn't even say bye. Remember this, Mark. He didn't even, maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but didn't he not even say bye to the players?
Well,
didn't he just skip town?
Lincoln Riley took a bad rap, and probably rightfully so, for not. Now, he addressed the players, but I hear it was like, 10 or 15 minutes. Bye. See ya. Like,
I'm pretty sure Brian Kelly didn't even do that, though. I think he just left.
I don't care who hires me and how much money they paid me and how quick I want to get to LA or wherever the destination is to meet my new team and get going. I'm taking basically as much time as those players want to talk. And, they trusted me. They signed the dotted line mainly because of me. That's what I'm doing. But yeah, I know that there was a lot of angst about Lincoln Riley. I don't remember the Brian Kelly thing. I'm kind of looking at some of the comments in the chat, trying to remember what my assessment and analysis of certain jobs were, because some I nailed, like Mike Elko. I said, that's an amazing hire. That's great. He's phenomenal. Boom. I nailed that one. Luke Fickell. Nope. I was wrong. I thought Luke Fickell was a great hire. Brian Kelly, I don't remember. I think I was kind of lukewarm on Brian Kelly. Like, this doesn't seem like a good fit, but he obviously knows what he's doing. He is still a good football coach. Is he great? He must not be. I think he's had two obvious places to prove that he's a great football coach. He's not a great football coach. He's a good football coach. He's a top 15 or 20 football coach.
Yeah. To me, it's just karma, Mark. And I just remember at the time, there were players that said they found out through the media, through the internet, that he was leaving.
Yeah.
They didn't even find out through him. So, all right, man, go
man.
Blue.
Thanks, man.
I will see you in the last week of the season, and I hope we can pull it out, even though I'm not really feeling good about that. All right, go Blue.
All right, let's finish this baby off because we are definitely running out of time. All right. Oh, we got about 18 minutes or so. We got Rob standing by. Rob, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, not much. Yeah, it's a weird feeling as a Notre Dame fan to see Brian Kelly getting fired because he's been part of the life of a Notre Dame fan for so long, whether it's coaching my team or someone else's team. And I guess I'm a little bit sad that we'll never get to have the Brian Kelly Bowl. Notre Dame versus LSU would have been pretty fun, pretty interesting. A lot of intrigue there, but unfortunately for him, he was not able to get LSU over the hump, which is kind of funny. I mean, I've been saying it all year. LSU is just not a great team this year. Like, they've been pretty bad, and it's pretty obvious when you watch that offense, especially I think when you got a quarterback that's not that mobile like Nussmeier, especially when he's dealing with a nagging injury, and then that offensive line is so bad. Like, there's not going to be a lot that he's going to be able to do. I think, I don't hate Garrett Nussmeier or have anything against him, but I mean, they might have to go with a change just because I think they're going to need somebody a little more mobile when that offensive line can't protect the guy. But that they have issues besides just the offensive line there. You were talking earlier about LSU, and you were right. Like, technically, they could make the playoffs. Like, you're absolutely right. They technically could. Now, the probability of that happening is probably 5%, in my opinion. I don't see them beating Alabama and Oklahoma. Like, they could maybe sneak by one of those wins. I don't see them getting two. And honestly, I don't really see them winning either one of those. They'll probably win their other two games against the cupcakes that they got there. But
well, to make any assessment on what LSU does the rest of the year versus what they would have done, who knows? Because now all bets are off on them doing anything. It's just like James Franklin got fired at Penn State. So, what Penn State does the rest of the year, is it really consequential? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
We have seen teams rally behind interim head coaches before. It's happened, but
right.
We'll see.
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm saying that you're right, that it definitely could happen. I just, Brian Kelly, like you said, he's a good coach, but he's obviously got his limits, and they are loud. And as Bilal was saying earlier, LSU is a place where you are expected to win. They'll give you a leash. They'll give you a little bit of a leash. Like, you got a couple, 2-3 years to like really settle in and get your stuff going. But in year 4, you can't just lose the games that you're not meant to lose. And no offense to like Vanderbilt or Ole Miss, but those are programs historically that LSU should be beating, and they are just not now. No, obviously there's a little bit of context that goes into that. Vandy's not the same Vandy they used to be. Ole Miss is definitely playing some of the best football they've ever played. Or at least since the 60s. And Lane Kiffin, if that guy wants, I mean, he could be a hero at Ole Miss. And that's another thing that's kind of interesting is I wonder, like, because Lane's one of those guys that that likes to flip. It seems like he just loves looking for a new challenge. So I almost wonder if he wouldn't want the LSU job. That would be. I've been thinking he might go to Florida, but we'll see. He says he's staying. So if you believe Coach speak, then Lane is going to be Ole Miss lifer. But I wouldn't write it off. I could see him going to LSU or Florida. That would be very interesting. And I think Lane is like the epitome of a Florida man to me. Like I think he would fit that job so perfectly. But I could also see him at LSU. And going back to some of the comments earlier, I think LSU is pretty clearly the best job opening right now. I would probably put Penn State maybe just because of what Franklin did there, like the way that they were in the playoffs last year and they had recruiting rolling. I mean, Penn State is in a good spot, but I mean, traditionally I would say Florida's probably a little more, enticing to me with that recruiting hotbed. But I think those two are kind of a wash. You could pick either one, Florida, Penn State.
You might be surprised at Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain, and Dan Mullins and Billy Napier's recruiting classes against James Franklin's. I bet Florida has a composite better recruiting. I bet it's very close, but I would put my money on Florida and its composite recruiting ranking being better than Penn State since James Franklin's been there.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that because obviously, and this is what I think I mentioned this the other day, or I wasn't on the air, I wasn't calling, but I was in the chat saying that the reason why Florida is such a enticing job is because it's a recruiting hotbed. I mean, it's kind of like LSU. You can just shake a tree and a 5-star drops out. Florida's a very fertile recruiting ground. I'm not saying that Florida's not a better program in some ways than Penn State. I'm just saying very recent history with Penn State. I think Franklin left it in a good spot. Of course, now with Franklin getting canned and the fallout there, they're losing not all but they're losing a lot of recruits. I mean, heck, Notre Dame, we might pick up Kamon Spell from the aftermath. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, I think those are both good jobs. But if
and I'm sorry to cut you off because depending on the age of the people watching, LSU is a great program today, and it's been one of the 5 to 10 best programs in the country in the last 25 years. Basically, Nick Saban built this program, not that they never had any tradition or history, but basically LSU is not even Arkansas pre-2000. And people may be shocked by that, laugh at that. They'd have to look it up because if they laughed at it, they wouldn't know what they were talking about. LSU pre-2000, pre-Nick Saban, probably lower than Arkansas, which Arkansas gets looked at as a bad program or just a mediocre program, but Arkansas has got a great football history. Like from the time I started watching football in the late 70s, for the next 10 years, LSU was going 8-3, 7-4. And then throughout the LSU actually had a losing record from the late 80s until Nick Saban showed up. For like 14 years, a losing record. Not just in the SEC, a losing record.
Yeah.
And a horrendous SEC record. I mean, winning like 35% of its games. So this is not historically a great program. It's just a program that cares a ton about football, always has, and they hit its stride and started keeping their players in state. And Nick Saban got them on a roll that they've been able to generally maintain.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with what you just said. But obviously, times do change, and recency bias LSU has been an elite program. But yes, their history. I mean, I think you'd be well, not you, but I think some fans would be shocked at other teams' history. I mean, Bama is a traditional power, of course, but before Saban, they were not the elite of the elite. Like Saban elevated that program to where they are now. I mean, Saban is just the GOAT. I mean, I think we can all agree on that one.
Well,
but yeah.
Yeah, Nick Saban obviously confirmed that, but I certainly worked the Alabama beat before Nick Saban was there, and it was still a blue blood. It was still in the top 6 or 7.
Yeah, for sure.
People would always name Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Alabama, etc., Texas, Oklahoma. So obviously, the coach with the most national championships before Nick Saban was Bear Bryant. So, he was there from 1958 to 82. So that's 24 years. For that 25-year stretch, they were as good as anyone.
Right. And all I'm saying, I'm just saying, like, they were up there, right? They were like you said, like top 5, 6. I mean, whatever. They're in that grouping until Saban showed up and elevated it to number 1. But we can see that coaching is a massive, massive thing. I mean, just look at what Signetti's doing in Indiana, another protege of Saban, I believe. But his coaching tree is wild, by the way. But anyways, yeah, I mean, Indiana is hit the jackpot. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. This is going to, I mean, honestly, I'm actually like, it's funny to me that Penn State fired James Franklin with apparently nobody locked up, right? Like, we don't know all the conversations behind closed doors, but they could end up with somebody that's not, like, if they end up getting Matt Rule, which is one of their top candidates. I mean, yeah,
There it is, almost exact. That was my point. Penn State 13.8. If we can trust Ralph's research, and we will, since James Franklin was hired. Sorry to cut you off, Rob. Penn State is at 13.8 and Florida 14.2. They're both at 14 overall recruiting ranking. There you go.
Right. No, like I said, and Florida would be better if you get a guy that is a very capable, and I've got no disrespect. I think Billy Napier's a nice guy. I think, and he had some nice recruiting classes, but like, Florida's a place where you should be able to recruit top 5 to top 10 classes every year, like every year. And but anyways, we'll see what happens with them. I'm just very interested in this coaching carousel that we're about to see, Mark. It's going to be utter chaos, is what it's going to be. And I think there's going to be some teams out there when it's all said and done that are going to be not so happy with the coaches that they get in replacement.
All right, Rob. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Oh yeah, always a pleasure.
All right. Christopher telling us that Urban Meyer's headed to Nebraska. I don't think Chris knows much about Urban Meyer's mentality when it comes to talent. If there's anything that Urban Meyer will preach, it's recruiting and talent. He's not going to Nebraska and having to travel to Florida or Texas to get players. All right. Garrison stopping by. Garrison, what's going on?
Mark, not much, man. How you been?
I'm good.
Oh, I'll tell you. So, Brad Smith, he's in the comments right now, but he bought Grand Valley State, and Mark, that's why I'm currently wearing this right now.
Nice.
Sadly, we did lose to number 1 Ferris State in our rivalry game this weekend. It was a close game, but it's I'm a Buckeye fan from West Michigan, and I grew up during the time that Brian Kelly was at Grand Valley State, and he's winning championships. He's building basically the greatest D2 football program of all time. And then you see him move on, then he gets to Notre Dame. I think that he did a good job there, but then you leave Notre Dame the way you did, and you get to LSU, and LSU, I mean, it's a top program. I think that right now is definitely the best job open right now. I would rank LSU 1, Penn State 2, and then Florida 3. But I mean, wow. I mean, just and then I listened to Josh Pate today, and he said that he kind of like was already like mentally checked out of the program already, and not taking care of basic things that head coaches should be taking care of. And I'm amazed by that, because I do think Brian Kelly is one of the greatest, just in terms of his college football coaches of all time. And so I am surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember hearing that about Paul Chryst at Wisconsin before he was fired. But yeah, like I said when I first opened the stream, that I was watching Texas A&M and LSU just a few minutes before we started the stream, and when LSU turned it over and Texas A&M scored, and really that was the final nail in the coffin, as it turned out to be, because Texas A&M was up by like 3 scores and they were starting the fourth quarter. They took a shot at Brian Kelly on the sideline. It looked very reminiscent of how he looked watching his Notre Dame team get thrashed by Alabama in the BCS championship game. He just looked like stunned, eyes glazed, like, I don't know what to do next. Yeah, I'm at a loss.
It's and did you see those clips going around of you basically lip read what he's saying to his special teams coach coordinator?
Yeah, a caller brought that up.
Oh, it's I was laughing when I saw that, because if people remember, Mark, I'm sure you do, a lot of people were critical about BK and how he went about the business of coaching, and then it was he took some time to himself and he got better at that, or he wasn't as feisty, I guess. But when you back someone into a corner, usually they revert to what they know. And when I saw him on that sideline getting after his special teams coach, I say, yeah, that's the real BK. That's the one I know. And he's kind of like Bo Pelini in a sense. He's a really old school coach, but yeah, I mean, I think he should retire.
I think he should do whatever he wants to do. So
true.
It makes no difference to me what Brian Kelly wants to do, as long as there's somebody out there that wants to hire him. If that's what he wants to do, or if he wants to, sail on a yacht or it cruises around the world with 54 million. Plus, if you could be a complete moron with the amount of money that he's made over the last 15 to 20 years, and he should be a multi-millionaire a zillion times over. He should have hundreds of millions of dollars even before this buyout. So whatever he wants to do, it's fine with me. If I never see Brian Kelly on a sideline again, that's fine. If I do, that's fine with me. I don't dislike the guy. I don't really care one way or the other. Like, I don't have some rage against Brian Kelly like a lot of people do.
Or undying love.
Yes. Well, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, he does not move me one way or the other. So I would think it was great if Brian Kelly gets the Kentucky job or whatever, just throw in the Florida State job. Sure.
If you were Michigan State, would you give him a call?
If I'm who?
Michigan State.
Brian Kelly no. I need fresh blood. I need a young guy. I need a go-getter. I don't need Brian Kelly resting on his laurels at Michigan State. No, I don't. I'd rather have Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. Now, I don't know what's going wrong and why he's not getting that done, but this is only his second season. Second. It's only his second season. Yeah, I'd leave. Yeah, exactly. Tim's telling us that. Jonathan Smith. I'm a Jonathan Smith fan.
He's a good guy.
I'd rather have Jonathan Smith as the head coach at Michigan State right now than Brian Kelly.
And he brought Aiden Childs. I mean, he got Nick Marsh. Was it Omar Kelly, wide receiver? So I mean, he's brought guys there. I think Michigan State's a top 25 to 30 job in college football. So I would like to see them be better. Do you think Jonathan Smith is you think he's built for the Michigan State job? Like just mentality wise?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Smith is just fine. I don't know what's going on at Michigan State that would be any different or more difficult to succeed there. I do think that, considering the competition in what used to be the division, obviously, and it's no longer the division, it puts Michigan State in a difficult situation to try to compete in that conference. There's a lot to fight through, especially the recruiting when you're going head to head in the region with Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State for recruits. Yeah, Michigan State is roughly in the same category as Wisconsin and Minnesota when it comes to trying to be really good in this conference. It's the odds and the deck is stacked against them.
Something that's really telling. I heard this stat maybe a couple days ago, and I think I got the numbers right here. But the state of Michigan, in terms of high school talent, is not the greatest. I think there's 46 players from the state of Michigan on Michigan State's team, and only 27 on Michigan's.
Yeah.
But, all right, Mark. Well, just want to stop you real quick. Haven't talked to you in a long time, and hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying blessed, man.
Thanks a lot, Garrison. Appreciate it. Catch Garrison on the Buckeyes show. What are we looking at? Monday, Tuesday, Thursday this week?
Yep, I'll be on Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m.